South African women's rugby has made great strides in the last few years. There is also a semi-professional women's Premier Division that comprises of 7 teams. The Springbok women's national team have appeared in 3 World Cups since their debut in 2006. Springbok player Babalwa Latsha is pleased with the growth in women's rugby.
Well, I think that women's rugby has grown in leaps and bounds, especially over the past 10 years. We've just gotten our sponsorship on board, FNB. We know that Momentum are strong supporters of women's sports, and that in itself gives us a renewed hope in terms of how we want to go about developing women's sports, women's rugby, and where we should be headed. And I think that the fact that we are able to have the first professional leagues, the first women to play professional rugby, some of our players, South African players, perhaps 3, are applying their trade abroad. I think that those little steps are quite big in the greater scheme of things of where we headed.
The Blue Bulls Rugby confirmed earlier this year that 35 women will be contracted for their ladies team Daisies over the next 2 seasons. The Bulls Daisies are the first women's team to be offered a professional contract in the history of South African rugby. Latsha says it's a milestone.
It is groundbreaking indeed. I think that there's massive potential in women's rugby, and there is much benefit in professionalizing it fully. And I do feel that South Africa is not too far behind all the other nations. Remember, we've only been at it for about 20 years, so there was a lot of restructuring and structuring and pathways that we had to redevelop. So I think that little by little, those investments are paying off.
Latsha also bemoaned the massive gap in pay between men and women. Recent findings by Africa's Focused Post Research Company highlighted that of the 90 major sponsorships announced in South Africa in 2022, only 3 were awarded to individual female athletes, and 2 were allocated to a single sport event, the Netball World Cup.
Well, I think that women's sport is not without challenges, and one of the biggest challenges are payments. I think that we've made significant strides towards professionalizing women's sport in general, and I do think that it's absolutely important that sponsorships do come on board to help grow the women's sport.
Latsha will be part of the Springbok team that will take part in the inaugural XXV tournament that will feature Samoa, Japan, Italy, USA, Scotland in October. Vincent Itura, SABC News, Johannesburg.